Good evening, folks. I'm Fernando Costa, and I am privileged this evening to introduce my friend, Robert Fernandez, as recipient of the Multicultural Alliance Award. Robert and I have occasion to cross paths frequently in Fort Worth, and perhaps because we're both Cuban refugees, we're often mistaken for each other. Isn't that right, Fernando? I mean, Robert. But there's no mistaking the accomplishments and the personal qualities for which Robert merits tonight's recognition. Robert's accomplishments are numerous and varied. I won't even attempt to summarize them for you tonight, but let me say, just to give you a taste, Robert has served with distinction on over 60 civic and nonprofit boards in Fort Worth, chairing many of them. And I think most of you already know that Robert's board service has encompassed everything from economic development, chairing the DFW Airport Board, to education, healthcare, human services of different kinds, conservation, the arts. I could go on. Let me be so bold as to say that everyone in this room has been touched in some meaningful way by Robert's service to our community. And I can tell you as a Fort Worth city official that whenever Fort Worth faces a difficult financial problem or a controversial human relations issue, Robert Fernandez is almost always on the short list of leading citizens to whom we turn for advice. So thank you, Robert. As remarkable as Robert's accomplishments have been, not just in our civic life, but as a professional accountant, as a business owner, as remarkable as they've been, I think his personal qualities are even more impressive. And if you know Robert, as I think most of you do, you know that every day he demonstrates civic-mindedness, leadership, determination, but also generosity to an uncommon degree, kindness, good humor, and I think perhaps best of all, an uncanny ability to find the best in each of us in the hardest of times. Robert is also exceedingly modest, and only Rosa Navahar can tell us how long and how hard she had to work, and with what combination of pleas and threats she was able to persuade Robert to join us tonight and accept this award. In summary, I think you will agree that Robert Fernandez exemplifies the very mission and values of the Multicultural Alliance. And let me bring forward an outstanding citizen of Fort Worth, Mr. Robert Fernandez.
Thank you, Fernando. I couldn't have written a better introductory speech. But it really is special to be a part of this evening and share with Joan Klein and Dr. Ahmed the opportunity to be your honorees this evening. I first became aware of MCA in the 1990s. Then it was known as NCCJ, National Conference of Christians and Jews, and I was invited to participate in community meetings that were being held among people with different racial and religious backgrounds to identify ways of better communicating to one another and accepting and respecting other faiths. To me, it was an example of an organization that was leading efforts to unite the community and learn more about our differences and appreciate them. I was asked to serve on the board in the 1990s. I declined because I was overcommitted. Fernando mentioned some of that. But I remember thinking, I'll never be asked to serve again. 10 years later, I was asked to serve again, and I happily agreed to come onto the board. And I learned so much about how the organization was working through various programs to foster respect and understanding in Fort Worth and Tarrant County. It was impressive to hear young people talk about their experiences in camp community, about their personal growth. And I just thought if we could double the number of participants maybe, or even introduce other programs to reach our youth, we could really benefit as a community, because those individual youth would then become adults that in their lives would demonstrate respect and understanding for the rest of us in our community as we live our lives. And I thought, well, this would help us as a community to understand people who practice different faiths, different cultural experiences, and maybe just have different opinions. Fort Worth and Tarrant County would be richer for that. Serving on the board during its transition from NCCJ to MCA provided a glimpse into how much people in this community really valued the mission of the organization and would not let the failures of the national group affect our local chapter. As the efforts of so many people to work over a period of years, I noticed and grew in deep admiration for people like Marvin Blum and John Suter, because they worked so tireless, giving up their time from their families, from their businesses, to see that this organization continued to exist and carry on its mission. It came with a different name, but its mission is intact, and the opportunity to do more. Fort Worth and Tarrant County, in my opinion, owe a great deal of gratitude to Marvin and John. And in my opinion, their efforts have paid off. The MCA name more openly celebrates the different religions and cultures and encourages the organization to expand its reach in the community. Serving on the board allowed me to appreciate what the organization does and how it impacts the community, and it helped me grow as a person. Several years ago, while I was on the board, the roster was circulated among the board members to make sure everyone's contact information was correct, including the name of your spouse. I was not married, but I did have a special person in my life that Cheryl Kimberly noticed, having me take him to certain events. And I responded to Cheryl. I had no corrections to my roster listing, and she called and said, "Don't you want Larry Wilson to be listed as your spouse or significant other?" And I said, "No, we're not married." And I didn't think it was the right time to push this issue to this organization. Frankly, I sold MCA short, Cheryl. And I should have agreed to the roster change, and because after all, at MCA, I am all of our identities, and so are you, all of you. We work toward eliminating bias and bigotry in our community, in all different facets of it. So fast forward many years, and I can share with you tonight that in early May, in front of a few family members and friends, Larry Wilson and I will be making our vows in public to celebrate our marriage legally. At the age of 60, I'm finally getting married. So Sally and Joe, I'm looking forward to 25 more years. But that'll be 2042 for us. So whether it's Camp Community, the Seminary and Interfaith Retreat, MCA, Table Talk, People's Art Collaborative, Interfaith Dialogues, this dinner, or other special projects, MCA helps educate our communities on how to be inclusive, how to create community, and how to respect our identities. Thank you for supporting MCA, and I hope that you will continue to do so as it carries out its mission and spreads the word among your family, friends, and coworkers. Fort Worth and Tarrant County are better places to live because of MCA. I'm truly humbled by this honor. Thank you.